Yulong finally comes face to face with his brother, leading into a destructive battle, but also an awakening of sorts for both him and Goku. Where will this take them going forward? We'll be seeing that and more in the 6th part of What If Frieza Was Good. As everyone recuperates from Cooler's attack, the Dragon Balls are gathered too. For once, Yulong actually found use for the Dragon Balls. A while back he kept that one that he got basically as a novelty, but here he could use Shenron for once. Although it's probably good that this is the first time they've had to use Shenron for this, and hopefully the last time, with the wish being made to bring Goku back to life. It wasn't too big of a deal for him too, because he just spent that time with King Kai. It was only a few days he was dead, but still, it's good to be back. Now he has a new task. Try to unlock that same form again that he got before. He has no clue what it was, he just knows he transformed and got really strong. King Kai told him it might be some sort of legendary form called Super Saiyan or something like that, but even he didn't really know for sure. Maybe that's why all the other Saiyans ran away. Goku's sure they'll come back someday. Eventually some more ships do arrive on the planet because not all of Cooler's army was there. This time it's a smaller group, but the people there are still pretty strong. It's the Ginyu Force and what looks to be someone related to Cooler and Yulong. That must be his father. Ten, Krillin, Yamcha, and Chaozu face the Ginyu Force. And it's actually not too tough for them, while Yulong goes to confront King Cold, not even needing his full power. Cold says he hasn't come here to fight. He actually tries to appeal to his son. Especially with Cooler gone, he needs someone new to rule his army. He always wanted Frieza to be the one to do that. And he really should rejoin his family. But Yulong tells Cold that he's not family. He lets King Cold know both of his sons are dead, but he'll join them soon. Cold's confused by this because he's looking right at Frieza. In Yulong's eyes, Cooler actually did kill Frieza. He just didn't realize that it birthed Yulong in the process. King Cold chuckles at this. So he's still in denial. But really? Is he not just as cruel as Cooler? He killed his own family as well. He still has that blood within him. Maybe he still retains that cruelty and doesn't realize it. But amidst his taunts, he's silenced. A single blast from Yulong kills him. He goes over to the rest of the group and sees that they defeated the Ginyu Force as well. And in one last attempt at winning, Ginyu tries to body swap with Yulong. But Yulong simply glares over at them, and the ground below the Ginyu Force erupts, finishing them all off. Yamcha says those guys were pretty tough. Even that green guy, he had a pretty unique ability. Thankfully those abilities aren't in the hands of a stronger person. Otherwise, they'd probably have some trouble. Yulong does take his training more seriously now, and his growth rapidly starts to accelerate. He knows himself now, and that self isn't Frieza. He can choose to do what he wants with his power. The curse of the strength from a tyrannical family will be a blessing for him, as well as his friends and Earth as a whole. The dreadful Cold family gave rise to Earth's strongest warrior, Yulong. And he's only just starting. He already has grown considerably, but now without those mental blocks he had before, and more motivation on top of that, he'll achieve new heights really quickly. A few more months passed. Even though the Red Ribbon Army was defeated, Jiro barely was able to make it out of there, and of course he wants revenge on Yulong. So he's been working on some androids. And he has way more data than before. And it's not just the quantity that's increased, it's the quality too. And this affects a lot of his current projects. He doesn't need to make as many androids because the first few that he makes, they're actually pretty successful. We'll be seeing this in a bit. Also around this time, there is no time traveler or heart virus. I'd say Goku lived a much healthier life in this scenario thanks to Grandpa Gohan never dying. He now actually lives with Goku at his home with Chi-Chi, Ox King, and Gohan, the other one. We don't know the direct cause of Goku's heart virus, but one popular theory about it is it came from how Goku lived as a kid, and it's just been dormant since then. He did kinda live like a wild animal after all, but thanks to his healthier lifestyle here, and not having to live on his own, we'll say he doesn't get the heart virus. At least according to that theory of its origin. Goku's got a happy home with a lot of people living there. As for Yulong, he still lives at Kame House. He's grown used to the lifestyle there, and it's pretty nice. And Roshi's glad to have him around too. One day while sitting on the beach, Roshi sees someone paddling on a boat, coming right to their island. Must be someone here for Yulong again, because this kinda happened a while ago, but it's died down ever since. Yulong's been out of the spotlight for a while, so this has happened less and less, but occasionally people would come here to try and train under him. But back then when this happened, he didn't really want to train anyone. Nor did Roshi at that time. Yulong then flies out into the ocean, grabbing the boat and taking it to shore. On the boat, there's a goofy-looking man who looks pretty terrified because his boat was just flying. And he looks at Yulong and doesn't really recognize him, asking if it's really him because he looks different. Yulong stops suppressing his power. He spends most of his time now in his final form. Oh yeah, he forgot that only his friends would really know who he is right now. This is a completely new look for him. The man on the boat introduces himself. His name is Mr. Saiyan, an up-and-coming martial artist aiming to become the strongest in the world. The 24th World Tournament hasn't happened yet, and Mr. Satan wants to win that. Assuming that Yulong's going to be there too, and he's going to have to fight him in the end. Oh yeah, Yulong completely forgot about that. Honestly, he doesn't really care about going again because he knows he'll win anyways. They'll just have him fight whoever the finalist is. He's not sure if Goku's going to join either. Well, this is great for Mr. Satan. He's been dedicated to martial arts for a while, and he's been trying to seek Yulong for a while too. He saw his performance in the previous world tournaments. This guy's really powerful, and he really wants to train under him. Yulong's pretty hesitant, but Mr. Satan starts begging basically. But still, Yulong's not really too sure because he could tell Mr. Satan's kind of doing this out of pride, just for the glory of it. He'll need a reason to actually train him. It takes a lot of convincing, and Mr. Satan follows Yulong around for days, proving that he's going to be a dedicated student. He knows he can't be the world champ without Yulong's guidance. Yulong's the previous world champ. Yulong is an idol to Mr. Satan. Ever since he was a kid, growing up as a martial artist, he and his classmates would always idolize Yulong, especially with him kind of being regarded as a hero. That's why he's here and so persistent about it. And eventually, Yulong gives in. He'll train him. But he's going to be pretty strict, and also, he does have to divide some time with another student he has. Yulong isn't completely dedicated to teaching. He hasn't really taught before besides his friends. And that was mostly him just training them. They were already seasoned martial artists. Mr. Satan is too, but to a different extent. He probably doesn't even know what ki is. But he introduces Mr. Satan to his other student, Gohan. This confuses Mr. Satan because how is he going to teach a kid and him at the same time? This kid has to be the same age as his daughter. And he's training under Yulong too? Actually, he has trained Gohan a bit already. Normally, Gohan would be training with Goku. But he's here at Kame House because he's getting some guidance from Roshi and Yulong as well. Goku thinks it'll be a great opportunity, especially because right now he's focused on getting Super Saiyan controlled. He already has trained Gohan a lot too, so getting some new perspective from Yulong might be a good thing for him. The strangest part for Mr. Satan is that Gohan seems way stronger than him. Sure, not as experienced as a martial artist, but this kid's really powerful, like freakishly powerful. Also, he has a tail for some reason. That scares him. But speaking of Goku, let's see what he's been up to. More time passes and he continues working on Super Saiyan. He's worked with Yulong on this too. Yulong is still much stronger than Goku, but Goku's closing the gap kind of. It's also good because Yulong could be a great punching bag to test Super Saiyan with. Nothing needs to be held back against him. As for Yulong, he's actually been able to tap into his full power without transforming into that bulky state. This was surprisingly quick to adapt to, and it's part of the reason he uses his final form all the time. Now he could adjust his power really easily in this form. He could use a small fraction of it or 100% of it, and he could swap between that within an instant. He's rarely in his first form anymore, although he kind of thinks his second form looks really cool, and it also makes him look taller, so he does prefer that. But he doesn't really use it as much because first of all it makes him look kind of intimidating, and second of all it's a big suppression of his power. But if there ever is a time where he's suppressed, he's usually in his second form now, just because of that. As for his third form, he never really touches that. That one's pretty terrifying. Also just a little too bulky for him. At least with his second and final forms, he looks human almost. Sure, maybe a bit intimidating in his second form, but handsome at least. With his final form also not being as scary. As a good person that's part of society, this is actually pretty important for him. He can't be freaking random strangers out. And after enough time has passed, Jiro finally activates some of the androids. He actually hasn't turned himself into an android here either. These androids have had some problems, mainly because he hasn't tested any others. With all the great data he's been getting, especially with the fact that he actually knows of Super Saiyan and Yulong's full power, Jiro's been pretty confident, so he stopped making androids after number 16, who he hasn't finished yet. And that confidence in the androids is a little bit of cockiness too. He activates his 3 most recent androids, and despite being fully mechanical, their sentience does pose some issues with their behavior, to the point where they think it's more effective to operate on their own, and they dispose of Jiro. Maybe he got a bit excited and activated them too soon. The only reason they even turn on him is because it's out of self-preservation. Jiro has been destroying his other androids, and these androids have data of that. They're loyal to Jiro's programming, but not Jiro himself. His desire for revenge got the best of him, and maybe he activated them a bit too early. So these 3 androids head out, aiming to kill Yulong and collect more data for the supercomputer in an effort to boost their own power as well as the next project, Cell. Once he awakens, they'll be unstoppable, but for now they'll prepare for his arrival. These 3 androids are androids 13, 14, and 15. Mr. Satan is training at Kame House one day with Gohan, sparring with him as Yulong watches from the roof. Mr. Satan's actually making some great progress. He can even control ki by now, not as effectively as Gohan, or anyone else for that matter. But still, this is way better than the average human already. Chaozu's also there on the island too, and he looks up in the sky and sees what looks to be people flying above them, but he can't sense their power. One of them's pretty large and one of them's kinda tiny. They fly directly above the island and then dart down, landing below, terrifying Mr. Satan. Yulong immediately tells everyone to get back because he can see the Red Ribbon Army logo on them. But he can't tell why he can't sense their power. When he destroyed the Red Ribbon Army, it was pretty impersonal. He didn't see the fact that they had androids. Thankfully, they spell it out for him. They're androids. Here to kill Yulong. Seeing this as a threat, Gohan then decides to fight, with Yulong about to stop him, but he's actually doing surprisingly well. He fights Android 15, and then Chaozu jumps in to fight Android 14. Mr. Satan's pretty terrified and almost jumps in to fight too, but it looks like those two have got it handled, so he sits back. But Yulong's a bit confused. If these are mechanical fighters made to kill him, how come Chaozu and Gohan are fending them off? These androids must not have enough data, combined with the fact that Gohan and Chaozu are much stronger than normal. Although the fight is pretty tough for them. They're fending them off, but still, it's pretty even, and the androids have infinite energy. Someone else then rockets over and finishes them off with 2 blasts. It's Goku, already in Super Saiyan. He sensed the fight going on and said it's good that they already had some people here, especially Yulong too. He was going to jump in if it got too dangerous, but after seeing Gohan's performance he decided maybe it would be good to let him fight a bit. Goku says Krillin, Tenshin Han, and Yamcha are with King Kai right now, so they can't come here. and Yulong briefs Goku on the situation. That sounds pretty scary, but if it was just these two androids, and they were that weak, is it really that big of an issue? Mr. Satan is hiding behind Kame House right now, pretty scared. But then he notices something weird. Coming towards the house, it looks like there's a man flying on the water, and just like those two androids, he can't sense him. Mr. Satan yells out that another android's coming. They see a pretty bright light too, as he launches a blast right at Kame House. In the nick of time, everyone then jumps in front of it, defending against the blast. The android then comes to the island and then picks up some pieces from the other androids too. But the second he does this, Yulong then tackles him, launching the two of them across the ocean as Chaozu, Gohan, and Goku follow. As Yulong and Android 13 make it to land, 13 comments that he's pretty surprised. These fellows must be stronger than he realized. Thankfully, 14 and 15 sent all that data to the supercomputer. But while on the secluded island, as well as the times they were at Kami's lookout training there, those were times Jiro couldn't get much data on them. The last bits of data he got were from the fights, the one with Cooler and the one with King Cold. So he got a lot of great info from those, but nothing else beyond that with their training. Yulong's able to fight off Android 13 pretty easily. The others then arrive and see, it looks like he has this under control. Those other two were relatively weak, and Android 13 is definitely stronger, but still it looks like Yulong's got this. Until Android 13 pulls up those parts that he picked up. There's a reason he got those. He didn't expect to have to use this so soon, but it looks like he has no choice. And he merges his power with the other two androids, giving birth to Super Android 13. Maybe separately the androids wouldn't have been an issue, but now that their powers combined, Yulong starts fighting him, and this is a problem. He has to use 100% of his power. And this alone still isn't doing anything to Android 13. Goku jumps in to help. And as they fight, Android 13's fending them off, as well as getting data on them too, adapting amidst the battle. Gohan and Chaozu try to help out as well, but Android 13 fends them all off. This is exactly why he wasn't loyal to Jiro. Jiro should have just made him like this from the get-go. Look how strong he is. He's the strongest thing in creation. He hits Yulong with a powerful punch, breaking his arm, then turning to Goku and doing the same to him. But the two continue fighting and ignore it. It would be great if they had some senzu beans here, but this isn't going to stop them. Yulong tries to focus, trying to place all his ki in his arm, and slowly, he's able to heal that arm. He noticed that when Cooler transformed, he was able to heal a bit, and it seemed like he was able to do the same thing, at least to some extent. Yulong hasn't just been focused on power, he's been focused on other techniques like this too. So to some extent, he could heal his own injuries now. There's a limit to it, and it's a bit slow and requires a lot of focus. But as long as it's not anything too dire, he could at least do this during battle. As for Goku, thankfully he does have someone to help heal him. Yulong buys some time as Chaozu then goes over to Goku. He's trained with Kami a lot, and he's been kind of working on his psychic abilities too. Before it was basically just telekinesis that he used a lot, but now he has a lot more support abilities as well. He can't fully heal someone, but he could speed up the healing process in the body with psychic control. It's not as potent as a senzu bean, and it does drain the energy of the person he's using it on, but still, it's pretty useful and he aims to improve this. But he also has something else he was working on, and he was discussing with Gohan the fact that he wanted to use this during the battle. He hasn't tried it out in an actual combat setting yet, but here it could be useful. For a brief moment, he could boost everyone's power, but it has to be timed perfectly. It's basically like applying Kaioken to someone. Goku actually did think about using Kaioken with Super Saiyan, but never got around to it. But that's besides the point now anyways. This seems pretty helpful. An extra boost on top of what he's already got should be pretty nice. But Chaozu reminds them, it's a little draining and he can only do it temporarily, at least as of now. But he's going to use it on the other thing. As Yulong continues fighting, he then notices a resurgence of power. Goku feels empowered as well, and same for Gohan. For this brief moment in the battle, Chaozu brings out 200% of their power. They don't even feel injured at the moment, but they have to make use of it quick. Goku and Gohan jump in to help Yulong. 13's completely taken aback because he didn't expect something like this. Why are they stronger all of a sudden? He can adapt to their attacks, but not this. Even the supercomputer's confused. The three continuously attack Android 13, and right as Chaozu is about to lose focus of it, they launch their final attack. A simultaneous 200% Turtle School Kamehameha, completely destroying Android 13. But just like Chaozu said, this really did tire them out, and immediately they collapse to the ground, tired but victorious. Even Chaozu's a bit tired out too. He hopes he could improve that in the future, but Goku says he's really impressed. He didn't know Chaozu could do something like that. Same for Yulong with his limited regeneration. Not only is everyone around him growing stronger, but they're getting great support techniques as well. There is more to being a great fighter than just raw strength, and Goku can't wait to see where everyone goes next. Of course, Cell is still dormant too, but he won't arrive for a while. Still, the supercomputer is working with him and feeding all this data to him. And with that, we'll leave off here for now. What do you guys think about this part and what's going to happen next? Leave your thoughts and ideas in the comments below. I'd love to see what you think. As usual, be sure to drop a like and subscribe if you haven't already. It really does help the channel and shows me you want to see more videos like this. Anyways, thank you all for watching, and I'll see you all in my next video.